Welcome to another edition of the Podium Finish Live here at the racetrack in Coda. I'm Rob Tiongson. You should know this fellow. This is Jeff Gordon, four-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. And Jeff, we're here to talk about 1998.
Oh boy.
Why would we talk about 1998? Well, listen, I missed your anniversary for you because it's been 25 years.
Oh, now you're making me feel old. Well, most of the time I would say to you, that's way too far in the past. I can't remember. But 1998 is one of those special years where we won a lot, won the championship. So it's one that I don't mind talking about going back into the past.
I figured as much because that's what you mentioned in January. So I'm fulfilling that promise with you.
Thank you.
You got it.
We can talk about 1998 every day of the week.
Believe it or not, Jeff, I'm going to ask you questions that 13-year-old Rob Britton in Boston, Massachusetts. So are you prepared for this?
I'm ready. I think so.
All right. Well, he's a little bit grown up now, so this one's a tough one because in 1998, obviously, we began with the Daytona 500. It was Dale Earnhardt's finest hour. It was also a chance for Jeff to win your second Daytona 500. I recall you started 29th, got to the lead, and then you had some problems at the end. How frustrating was it to come so close to winning your second Daytona 500 in so many years?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the year before winning it and having a 1-2-3 finish for Hendrick Motorsports was really special. And so when you find your way to victory lane for the first time in the Daytona 500, you build confidence in yourself, what your decisions you're making, as well as what's happening with the team. So yeah, we came in 98, I think maybe even more prepared than we did in 97. I don't remember why we didn't qualify well or what happened in the duels to take us that far back in the starting grid, but worked our way forward, had a great car, had a car capable of winning, and it just wasn't meant to be our day. If I remember, I think, no, that was earlier, a few years earlier we had an engine problem. So I don't know. I don't remember exactly what took us out of contention. I just remember we were really strong that day. Didn't win it.
Yeah, well, I can tell you it was a cylinder that dropped.
Okay, it was an engine problem. So yeah, all of these races run together, but those 90s from 95, even 93, my rookie year, through those 90s, we just had such a strong package and we're such a strong team. I felt like we could have won every year at Daytona.
For sure. You made up for it in 1999, which I'm sure we'll talk about down the road, but hey, the week after, things got better. I mean, it was the first race with the 5-and-5 rule.
Yes.
Qualified fourth, but
let's talk about the 5-and-5 rule.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 5-and-5 rule, was basically 5-inch spoiler and I think a 5-inch minimum height on the front air dam. And so that was like this we've got to do this because there were teams thinking there was advantages of what the Chevy had and what the 24 car was working with, and so I feel like this 5-and-5 rule was something that was supposed to bring the field closer together, and I think it only made us better.
kind of counterintuitive, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, we were just so good at that time. Just meaning in every aspect of looking at aerodynamics of the car. Of course, the Monte Carlo was still very, very strong at that time. I think just the details that you still see today that Hendrick Motorsports works within to make the cars strong each and every weekend on so many different types of racetracks. I was certainly driving with confidence. The pit crew was strong on pit road. Ray and the calls that he was making, the cars that he was bringing, resources, and just everything culminated through those mid-90s and especially 1998. So while Daytona was disappointing, we were happy to get back to the racetrack and make up for the loss in Daytona.
As I say, at Rockingham, that was a comeback because I remembered at one point we dropped like 29th place, almost got lapped, and then like Darrell Waltrip was saying, if Jeff Gordon can't run squat, we're in a lot of trouble. And then all of a sudden, I don't know if you heard his interview or not, I don't think you did, but you came back and won that race. Like, how exciting was that for you to go back through that?
Very exciting. I mean, Rockingham was one of my favorite tracks, one of the first tracks I ever competed at in NASCAR, and it was a difficult track, very abrasive. It was easy to get off on the setup, or if you had an issue on pit road, it was hard to make up for it. So, I knew it was one of our best tracks, and we had some challenges that day, and we were able to overcome them. So to do that on such a challenging, difficult racetrack under those circumstances, I think that's what really set the season into motion that we had in 1998.
It did for sure, and it seems like in 1998 you were having the year of having 4 consecutive wins. Which one stands out more to you? Winning 4 straight Food City 500s at Bristol, or 4 straight Southern 500s at Darlington?
Whew. Oh man, they're both real standouts for me because I love both of those tracks. They both have their own unique challenges. I think Darlington maybe stands out more because it is such a prestigious race, Southern 500. How difficult that track is to just keep to keep a car in one piece. You run right next to the wall, really easy to damage the car, let alone managing the tires. Easy to have a lot of failures at that track because all the grit and sand on the racetrack. So if I had to pick one, I would say the Southern 500 four in a row. That's impressive.
Twice in those years, you beat Jeff Burton for the $1 million bonus. Has he never let you live it down?
It might stick with him. For me, I got the better end of the deal, so I'm okay with it. You'd have to interview Jeff to ask him, but certainly that race, with what was on the line, all the build-up and hype, knowing that prize hadn't been won since Bill Elliott did it, in the 80s. So it was certainly something we put a lot of effort into. And then for it to come right down to the end, I brushed the wall, I damaged the car. I was like, oh no, I've given it up. I've lost this when we had it in control. And then Jeff was coming on strong regardless. Probably what pushed me into making that mistake. And then we held him off, which was really, really good.
I will have to follow with JB about this, but hey,
I'm sure he has a much different take than I do.
And maybe a little bit colorful metaphors along the way too.
Yes.
So let me ask you this though. I mean, I know the '98 season at the beginning, y'all were trying to figure out, the 5-5 rules, some intermediate track struggles, but then the Coke 600 was probably the first seminal moment that things turned around. What do you recall about that weekend from winning the pole, then missing the penultimate practice, and then all of a sudden you were in the mix with those forwards in the end?
Well, and this is why I love catching up with Ray Evernham as often as I can and reliving these moments in our careers together, but especially in 1998, because he'll probably tell you that as upset as he was that I missed that practice, and there's a whole other story that goes along with that of how that really changed, and it was a pivotal moment kind of in the whole season because it re-energized my commitment, because I was so disappointed in myself by missing that final practice, showing up to the track, seeing the car damaged because they asked Terry Labonte to get in the car. He cuts a right front tire down. Luckily didn't damage it worse than he did, and then we come and win the race the next day. And then that was like, here we go. And I think what it did was it just made me realize how hard my team works and that they deserve more from me, really. And I said, I'm going to give them everything I possibly can, and I did, and the combination was really, really strong the rest of the year.
I would say so, because we'll get into those 18 top 5 finishes in a row. I got to ask you, though, your best buddy now, Rusty Wallace, he kind of lit a fire in you at Richmond, wouldn't you say?
For sure. Is that the year? Did he wreck me? Yeah, Richmond.
Turn 2.
Of course.
Can't forget.
My buddy Rusty. I think there were several moments that year that lit a fire. One we just talked about, at the Coke 600, that final practice. I think not winning the Daytona 500 with having such a strong car, that was one of them also. And then this one, with Rusty. I mean, Rusty and I had some great battles. But we were just on this roll where we were putting great runs together, had fast race cars week in and week out. We had a few struggles along the way trying to understand, like you said, the 5-5 rule. But when Rusty spun me at Richmond, I was so mad, and I just wanted to make up for it in every way I possibly could, especially going head to head with Rusty from there on out. So I had a vendetta against him, probably the rest of my career. He and I laugh about it now. We joke and we get along good. We were not getting along so well at that time.
Yeah, Rusty was saying to me, man, like, he was supposed to be the anointed king of NASCAR, and you kind of ruined his plans.
Exactly, and I love that he shares and is open about that. I wasn't necessarily planning any of this, right? It was, I wanted to be the best driver I could be. I came along to Hendrick and Chevy at the right time, and we were on a roll. Got Ray Evernham as my crew chief and all the other things to go along with it. And I didn't know that Rusty had this grand plan that he was going to be the successor, you know, to the dominance that Earnhardt had built before that, and that he wanted to own the sport. And all of a sudden, this kid from California and this bright-colored 24 car at Hendrick Motorsports had a different plan in place.
You certainly did, because you certainly drew the ire of the 4 teams the rest of that year. I gotta ask a really tough question though, because of course you got the 4 wins in a row during the summer, 18 top 5s in a row. Something happened in New Hampshire that kind of, I will say, pissed off Ray Evernham. Tiregate. What do you recall about Tiregate?
Oh my gosh, it was just air, Jack, just air. Yeah, you know, I think the 24 car had showed it in our very first win at Charlotte in 1994, where 2 tire stops and, you know, just getting track position was really, really important. And I think Ray put a lot of energy into trying to understand how, you know, spending less time on pit road where there was no tires or just 2 tires, even at a track where most people said you absolutely had to take 4, just playing with the air pressures in order to get the balance of the car right and get off pit road faster and ahead of others. And that's what we did that day. And it was a brilliant call, brilliant move, and it was one that kind of set a trend for us to do more often, but really caught the attention of our competitors and made them think there's no way that we could possibly get beat on 2 tires. They must be doing something. They must be cheating. And that's when the famous quote from Ray is just air.
Oh, I remember that on RPM tonight. He was just so livid. I thought you handled it pretty well, because you were just like, yeah, I'm just here to drive the car. I'll let Ray deal with all the politicking, right?
Well, you know, and when you're a crew chief and the team taking the car through inspection, you're being criticized, you know, by your competitors. The amount of hard work and respect that you have for you know, putting great race cars out on the track and the integrity that comes along with it, and when that's tested at any time throughout our careers, even right now, some of the things going on, you know, it lights a fire underneath you and it inspires you to want to go show your competitors just how good you are, and not that you have some trick up your sleeve.
You guys did. You just had a great crew chief, a great pit crew, and a pretty good driver along the way too. So
hey, everybody's got to play their role and their part well, and when everybody does it well together at the same time, magical things happen, like what happened in 1998.
Oh man, let me tell you, 1998, I thought one of the best things that happened that year was you becoming the first nighttime race winner at Daytona. What do you recall about when NASCAR was like, hey guys, we're going to have a nighttime race at this big track in Daytona? And then in October, which I know was a tough month for you guys, how special was that all for you to win that race and also overcome the monkey off your back in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I love the super speedways. We were strong in super speedways. You know, handling was a part of super speedway racing back then, and I think that played into our hands a little bit better too. But I just felt like I had learned so much from Dale Earnhardt, the things that he had taught me on these super speedways, that every one we went to, we had a shot at winning it. And that race was supposed to happen in July, but there were fires in Florida, so it got postponed to October. But it was a big deal, you know. Back then, there were these moments of going to the Brickyard for the first time in 1994. You know, going to places like Kansas for the first time, or Fontana out in Southern California, or Texas. It was like these moments that were big for the sport and broadening the appeal. And I think putting lights up into super speedway was something nobody ever thought could happen or be done, and they did it. It was a bold move, but everybody wanted to win that race and you know, be a part of such a special event under the lights. So even though it didn't happen in July, happy that it happened in October, and really happy that we won that race.
I'll tell you, when 13-year-old Rob learned to watch that race, I was like so happy in my house in Malden. I was like, Jeff won the race. I was screaming. My parents were like, shut up, go to sleep.
Well, thank you. You've always been a huge fan and been cheering us on for a long time, and we certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I got one last question
Yes,
for
sir.
you before we get to wrapping up. You were the road course king in 1998, right? How much did you wish that we had COTA, other road courses in 1998, given how you and Ray unlocked this magic of the 24-car road courses?
Yeah, no, I love the road courses. You know, even the street courses happening this year at Chicago, but being here at COTA, you know, such a beautiful facility. I mean, F1 races here, IMSA races here, NASCAR races here, and I would have loved to have been here competing at this racetrack. So a little bit jealous of what these guys get to do here. I would think that it would be a track that I would have loved to have attacked, and as a team we could have done well at, but I guess we'll just never know.
For sure. Well, Jeff, thank you so much, my friend.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate it.
Yeah, 1998 was special. All the top fives, the second place finishes, and the 13 wins is something I'll never forget. So I always appreciate you wanting to relive it.
Well, if you ever need a biographer for the greatest season of NASCAR history, just, I'm running in Texas.
He said it right there, folks. And when that moment comes, you're my guy.
Exactly. I won't be as good as, I don't know if I'm good as Joe, but I'll try.
I think you could do a good job. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Jeff Gordon, everyone.